Hey folks, welcome to another episode of I'm in the Shop. My name's Lee Martin, and today is featuring all about C3 Powersports. We have got a full shipment here of C3 Powersports for a very special build we're doing this season for snow bikes. And let's open it up, see what we got, tell you guys what each part is for, what it's all about, and then boom, we'll get to some videos in the future of what's happening. So let's check it out. Look at this. All right, so first thing I'm seeing here is the C3 handguards. These things are awesome. What they will do is they go on their C3 bar mounts, which are right here. So let's have a look at this. So the cool thing with C3 is they really like you like customizing stuff. So you get your hand guards in pretty much whatever color you want, factory OEM type of colors, and then inserts. So if in this case I'm going to put this on one of those like real Taco Moto looking KTMs that have some yellow and the orange, going to kind of set that up. If the yellow's not your dig and you're looking for something like a bit newer KTM where they start integrating a lot of the purple, you can slap it. Oh, wrong one. You can slap. Come on, Lee. Slap in a purple look, so super dope. So I really like that about the customization. Here's another color, and you get red. If you want to insert a red, insert in your handguard, or maybe you just want to go red on red. So, and then these are already pre-drilled and set, like most handguards that fit the C3 handguards. These things are pretty dope. They're super durable. I take down trees with these suckers, like literally anything that's about that yay big and smaller, I just drive straight into them, plow them through. The plastic is really durable as well. I very rarely have any type of cracked or damaged plastics, and the guards stay in place, and it does a really great product for protecting all your controls and your snow bike bits. So let's put this aside and find out what else we got in the box. You know what? Let's pull everything out, lay it out, and we'll start. Let's do that. Okay, so I got everything laid out. Let's make this a bit easier for us. So we were talking about the handguards, how awesome they were. The thing that I love the most about C3, honestly, is everything comes with the appropriate hardware for the appropriate bike. So when you buy these kits on their webpage, right, you'll go onto the webpage like so. Okay, so snow bike parts, which is up in here, and they sell a lot of stuff that's not just C3 products. Like they'll sell aftermarket stuff that's snow bike related, but it's not their own signature products. With that said, let's just kind of go in and let's say we want to buy a heated bars and thermostat. Okay, which I'll be showing you guys soon. So there's a whole bunch of different thermostats available for bikes. Okay, so first you're going to select your bike brand. So we're going with a KTM. Okay, and then the bike model. It's a 500 EXCF Enduro right there. And the bike year, we're working with a 2025. So 2024 and up. Okay, so now we can select the housing color. I'd like to have an orange one to match my orange bike, please. And what's your temperature? So I highly recommend that you're getting the 90 Celsius, 195 Fahrenheit. You want these bikes to be, running hot, warm. It helps with moisture content. It helps with the bike running better. It helps with fueling, all that stuff. You don't want to be running a cold bike when you're snow bike riding. So warm bike. So 195. Handlebar colors. So sometimes they have all these different colors. You can have black, red, blue, orange, green, and then the Cody Manichuk signature series, which is basically, it's really the similar bar. It just has a particular bend that Cody has said, you know what, I'd like to have this bend, and this is where I want it to be set up on my bike. So so it's not like, hey, it's got his name on it. It actually has some development behind it that he's done. I don't know much more about than that, but ask Cody. So, in this case, I probably want to pick the orange bars. And then do you want to add a complete, so in this case, I can only pick black. add a complete colored hose kit? Yeah, for sure. I want some orange hoses. That'd be dope. And then included is all your sealant and your cutoff line tool. I definitely want a temp gauge with my bike. Oh, yes. I want some synthetic bar, what are they calling them? Bar sleeves. So yeah, let's do the orange ones. That'd be super cool. And then a spare set of lines. So you do get a set of lines with the kit, but if you want a spare set of lines, you know, sure, why not? I'll get a spare of orange lines. And then, do you want some new grips? Yeah, you bet. I'll grab some orange and gray grips. And then add to cart. Boom, it's there. They know what bike you're working with. It's now going to be on your account. They know everything to help you. So if you call them with customer support or an issue, they're gonna be like, yeah, sure, Jack, we saw that you bought those bars for that beta. Awesome, you know, let's get in on it. So, and get you figured out. So yeah, their bars though, this is all universal. So it all depends more about what centerpiece you get. So let's move on to that. So right here, they produce a really awesome center bracket for your bars mount, and they have it all integrated to mount your bush guards onto the side, and they leave lots of space for adjustment, guys. So if you're running short bars, long bars, whatever bars I have, you can adjust it. And coincidentally, their heated bars are already pre-threaded on the ends and sealed, ready to go. So super simple.
Those are some nice bars.
And then they have the temp gauge, which is in our kit. That we have a Trail Tech. This is another thing that's not this is not a C3 product. This is Trail Tech's, but they sell Trail Tech through C3. And then this will go onto your bar mount. So the screw holes on this perfectly line up with the mounting plate on here. And then other options you can mount off of this bracket is a switch panel. So in case you want to put a power switch on your rad fan, or a power switch for your headlights, or an auxiliary LED light, you just put the switch in there and all's good in the world. And that mounts right onto the existing holes in here. Or maybe you want a GPS mount. So this is a GPS mount adapter plate for a Garmin rugged amps mount. And then that gets mounted in here, wherever you'd like it. And you get the adapter and you get a GPS mount. Super dope. And of course, like I said before, all the necessary C3 hardware. So they'll have hardware in here for a couple different styles of bikes. They'll have the hardware in here for mounting your bar ends into the handlebars, all that good stuff. So because this was ordered as a kit, they filled it out in the baggie as a kit. Something new that they engineered is some bar pads. So basically, you know, these are going to sit above your handlebars, integrated in with their C3 mount perfectly to pad things and stop you from smashing your chin and your face off your bars, I guess. Pretty cool. And then of course they mount on with some convenient elastic bendy straps. Okay, so moving on. We've talked about the bar setup. So again, EMIG is an awesome manufacturer of handlebar grips that have the cams and a whole assortment of cams inside for your particular bike. And of course color, you know, combinations and stuff like that look dope. And then they tighten on with an Allen key. So no more gluing, no more fuss or muss. Slip on, throw your cables around the cam, close up the throttle body, and that holds that, and you're off to the races. So let's go down. Oh, so one more thing. These are the shield expanders. They have 3 different sizes. They have a small, they have a medium, and they have a large. These are the mediums. The smalls are, you know, take maybe a couple centimeters off the top, And the larges are proper elephant ears. They're huge. Why are these here for, or how do you use them? You basically would just set them in behind your existing C3 handguards. And what this does is this will block out a lot more wind or snow or anything getting into your bars or small branches. And it really does make a massive difference, especially for those big transits going across lakes and stuff like that, or down the roads. It'll keep your hands a lot warmer with these windshields put in here, these extenders. Really handy to have. All right, so since we were talking about the bars, let's talk about the heated bars, right? So C3 makes her own bar that is already tapped and ready with internal hosing and for direction of coolant flow. That's going to be it'll give you the best heat distribution, opposed to just, you know, I tapped a regular set of bars and I, you know, put some, you know, taps on there and expect them to get hot. These definitely have a flow thing going on from over here coming back and through to keep the bars really evenly heated. They got a really nice bend to them. It's super aggressive moto type bar, so real comfortable. Putting these on your snow bike compared to taking them off your dirt bike, not a lot of difference. You do spend a ton of time sitting down snow biking, at least I do, unless you're taking some really big drops or hits. And so, you know, they're always talking about when you're dirt riding, oh, I'm gonna get a lower profile bar or a higher profile bar. This is a pretty damn good standard profile for snow biking bar. It feels real comfortable. So what they've done here is, you know, they've already pre-threaded it for your intake and your outtake. Okay, and then I believe this set screw in the bottom, you got focus on that? Mm-hmm. Yeah, this set screw on the bottom is for drainage. So if you need to drain any coolant out of your bars, if you're working on the bike or taking them off without coolant flying everywhere, you can drain them. So that's pretty handy. And then of course, in this little baggie, it's a free set of drugs from, no, I'm just kidding. No drugs coming this way. Are two pieces. So you've got your temperature input. What I mean by temperature, it's a valve. So when it's fully open, it's going to flow as much hot coolant through your bars as possible and keep your bike bars super hot, like to the point you can't even really grab them with bare hands. It gets so warm. And then you can shut them off by turning the valve to the off position. And this is also your temperature adjustment. So with a little bit of coolant coming through, get a little bit of warmth. With a medium, you get medium. With a lot, you get a lot. I find when I'm riding in the springtime, just a hair open is more than enough. And if you happen to get out there on those minus 30 days, it's super cold, it's full open. And then you have your other one for your return. They both have a right angle on them, because you'll notice once you have these mounted in the bike, you're going to need a right angle. They don't work so well. You don't get enough clearance between your bars and the mounts and stuff like that, unless you're running a ridiculous bar riser, which I don't recommend. I don't run bar risers at all with any of my bikes. You'll need a right angle connection on there, because a straight one's just going to hit the triple clamps or get in the way. So super good, super happy with those. And then the last thing with the bars is those little bar beer cozies. So this basically, so when you shut the bike down and you're resting on the side of the trail, it'll try to keep some of the heat within the bar without it dissipating so quickly. One of the things with heated bars that you'll realize is if you're getting on one of those days where you get a lot of snow sloughing up into your bars, and snow gets captured in behind your controls and levers and all kinds of your stuff that you have on your handlebars, whatever is mounted on there, and you pull over on the side of the trail, the bars will cool down pretty quick, and then the water tends to freeze. And when it freezes, that causes a lot of issues, like your start button won't push in. Let's say if you have a safety switch on your clutch, maybe that's stuck now because it's frozen either in or out. So by putting these on, actually makes quite a bit of difference. It really covers a ton of the bar, the exposed bars, and keeps the heat inside the bars, which is awesome. So yeah, super dope. That's great. And then your hoses. So the hoses that come default are black hoses. So these are a very hard, durable plastic hose. When you first grab these, you kind of think to yourself, these are going to break, these are going to melt, these are going to become a problem. They really don't. And once you kind of get them in place on your bike, you might feel like you're forcing it a bit, and they'll bulge out a tiny bit. Once you run some hot coolant through them, the plastic seems to relax a little bit and it starts molding to your bike. So now when I take these off at the end of my season, they won't be round anymore. They'll almost be like a shape of a brake line going through a car. You know, so I'll take it as, oh yeah, I can see that. That's where we went to the handlebars, and that went down to the thermostat and all that good stuff. So, and then of course you can buy these in any color you want. So if you want to be more fancy pants, you can. Okay, so moving on. They think about you and how annoying it can be to get your coolant system to seal correctly when you're installing your handlebars. And we'll talk more about this when we get into installing those bars on our new bike build. But they'll give you a little bit of O-ring grease. Okay, this is perfect stuff. It can get mixed in a little bit with your coolant line, so if you happen to get a bit in the hose, not a big deal. But it's meant though when you connect the hose with the connectors, right? You're not pushing a dry hose onto a dry O-ring. With a little bit of the grease, helps it slip, seal nicely without doing any damage. If you just try smashing these on, you're probably going to damage the O-ring. And what's the other thing for? This is thread sealant. Okay, so it's kind of like the equivalent of plumber's tape, except nowhere near as messy. It works really good. So when you receive these C3 and they already have the red sealant on them, I'm sorry, but don't trust it. You definitely want to add some more plumber's tape or add this compound to it and then put it back in, and that's what's going to guarantee you a seal. If your first part of leakage when you're testing the bike out, if you do have it, is going to be from those threaded seals, whether they're from your thermostat housing or from your bars. So you got to make sure you do a really good job at that. Keep it clean, keep it dry, and put the sealant on it and tighten it up. And again, you don't want to reef on these. They are tapered a bit, so you know, just they're tight and go, and that's it. It's done. If they start to leak, a little bit more. After that, if they're still leaking, you haven't done a correct job with the thread sealant. So, and the last thing in that kit is this awesome tool. This tool is designed to cut their C3 hosing to perfection. So you get a nice, perfect square cut like that. If I were to try to take, and we'll show you when we do the install, if I were to take a set of side cutters or even a saw or anything and try to cut, or a razor blade, and try to cut that, I'm probably going to wind up pushing down on it, squeezing it, and getting, instead of a perfect circle, I'll get like an oval, like an egg shape. And that is another reason why you're going to break the O-ring seal trying to insert these. I think a lot of guys do that and they don't realize how important this tool is. So the fact that it comes with the kit now, I think it's really smart the boys at C3 did that, because it's probably stopping a lot of people calling back saying, I broke the hose. So yeah, use their tool. Again, the tool has multiple sections to it, and we'll talk more about it in the video, but awesome tool to have. Now, let's move a little bit further down on the bike. So since we're talking about heated bars and the hoses, now we're talking about our thermostat kit. Okay, so C3 makes a bunch of different thermostats that will be universal, and then some thermostats are built for bike specific. So I don't quote me on this, but I think like some of their Japanese bikes, maybe like a Yamaha, a lot of their thermostats will come right out of the side of the cylinder head on the bike, where KTM and Beta and other brands don't do that. So if you buy a thermostat from them that comes right out of the head of the motorcycle engine, it'll fit right into that port. So that's very handy, very handy. If not, you have to deal with one of these systems that is meant to can almost be universal. So you put your hoses on it, you place in the bike where it's going to be necessary. C3 does have some instruction on their webpage on how to do all this stuff. You can check it out, but hopefully this build that we're doing, we've done a build on a Kawasaki in the past, we've done a build on KTMs, we've done builds on Betas. You can follow all of them to try to help you out. It's all in the same YouTube channel. So yeah, thermostat, and of course in the thermostat they'll give you your bypass hose, your blocking, your extra fittings for the tubes, and then of course adapters for the lines and stuff like that. For especially this one's for the coolant line. Rad hoses to go around the C3, and believe me, these are much better rad hoses than the ones that are coming OEM off your bike. So use the C3 rad hoses, they're great. Don't forget, don't over tighten them, but don't under tighten them. So yeah, that's the thermostat setup. Okay, so let's talk about now a little bit further down the bike where things are starting to breathe. We got intakes. So what C3 makes is their own intake specifically for your bike, in the way that the subframe is all set up, and whether it's carbureted or you got a throttle body for fuel injection, they have their C3 intake kits. Basically what it is, it's if you know what a frog skin is, but it's almost like a very thin mesh where air can go through, kind of like Gore-Tex, but water and snow can't, because the holes are too small for that stuff, but they're just the right size for air to go through. So okay, once you kind of get this all dialed in, and it comes with all the hose clamps, right, so on and so forth, to go onto your bike. And then I'm not going to pull this out of the case right now, but sure I will. Why not? We'll call it the sock, right? And it's just elastic band around it, and then this sock goes over top of that cage, and that's your air intake. So why do you use something like this opposed to like your standard air filter on your bike? Even if you oil it or you don't oil it, the snow will build up in your air box, especially on those light, fluffy, powdery days, and those are the days where we want to ride the most. The air will fluff up in there. The suction of the motor pulling the air through will attach it to the filter, and then there's just enough heat in there for it to melt and freeze and melt and freeze, and it'll pack and pack and pack and pack until all of a sudden you're going down the trail and bike dies. You're like, am I out of gas? No, it took us a while to figure this out, way back in the day, like back in 2015, 16, what was going on before stuff like this was even being made for snow bikes. And we're like, oh shit, we're not getting any air. It's completely sealed off. So we'd pull our air filter covers off, and then we'd scoop all the snow out, and then we'd put it back on and go again. And 10 minutes later, doing the same thing over and over again. So what C3 did is like, well, enough of that nonsense. And they started creating these. And what you have to be mindful is when you put something like this on your motorcycle, yes, it does do the job, but you're pulling in a lot more air than probably what the bike is used to. So if you're putting this on a carbureted machine, you probably want to think about some jetting. If you're putting this on a fuel injection machine, with a computer, you'll probably be okay, but don't expect to really gain any horsepower, if any. If you really want to take advantage of an intake that has such a flow like this, and let's say you put some bigger exhaust on your dirt bike and a nice loud pipe, unless you remap that computer, get the computer remapped, you're going to need to do that, or you could actually do damage to your bike. We had a Kawasaki that was had a carburetor on it. We put a KX muffler on it and one of these intakes, and we actually blew up the top of the engine. So because it was running so lean, there wasn't enough fuel delivery to match the amount of airflow it was pumping through. So we fixed it, we put the right jets in, and all of a sudden, thing came to life. Felt like we gained another 20 horsepower. It was insane how much more. So it was pretty awesome. So yeah, but primarily for you guys out there, reach at the carbs to match this. Put a little bit more fuel through the system, especially if you have an exhaust system put on your bike. or for you EFI guys, maybe think about a mapping, but it is the solution for any EFI bike, in my opinion, to simply stop the snow from building up inside your airbox and never having to worry about that again. So pretty handy to have that. The other thing you want to think about breathing is your crankcase vent hose. So that's a hose that comes right out of the side of your engine, and it usually ends back up in your airbox or somewhere along the lines of your motorcycle's emissions control system. And what happens there is, if you put it through, now because your airbox doesn't exist and you have a system like this, the older models, they used to have it so you could plug it into the side. You are on such high revs all the time when you're on a snow bike, it was pulling the oil through the crankcase hose for me, and it was putting it back inside the air system, and all of a sudden my boots got slippery with oil and they'd pop off, and that was terrible. It was no good. So C3 saved my bacon and created a crankcase vent breather. So this will allow air in and out, but it'll stop the snow and any dirt. And this is super handy to have. So when you take your crankcase hose off the bike, when you're putting your new intake on, you slip this on, tighten it up with a zip tie, or I don't think you use a zip tie, I think it's a pressure fit, and the zip tie can be used just to hold your breather hose out of the way. Okay, going a little further down on the bike, foot pegs. So these, C3 has made an excellent foot peg, in my opinion. We've done a lot of videos on this in the past, so we probably won't do another one. There's like 2 or 3 of them out there. But the design of these basically is so that you don't get any snow buildup on your pegs, and maximum traction with your feet and locking into the bike. So all the snow sloughs through the middle, and you stay on your bike, your feet stay on your bike, and life's good. So super awesome. And again, these are very manufacturer specific as well. So you got to make sure when you're on the C3 webpage, you're picking choosing the right, bike for your job. Okay, the last thing is honestly something I'm not sure that I ordered, but I'm going to figure this one out, and I'll let you guys know a little bit later on. But I think it's definitely 3D printed, and it's very custom. So I would imagine that the purpose, I don't want to speculate, I'm just going to find out. Mystery item to be announced shortly. That's it, guys. That's our C3 unboxing of our accessories. They make a lot more stuff than this. There's, like I said, there's bar risers. There's, what else we got going on? They have some electronics that are available as well. And they've got gas tanks. They've got an assortment of stuff. So go on their webpage, C3 Powersports.com, and check out what they have. But join us in our next episodes when we start installing this stuff on the bikes. And we're super stoked and excited for the snow bike season. We'll see you soon.
Hey, extra. We found out what it's for. Yep, so it is definitely what I said. It's you replace your existing air filter cage in your dirt bike. This, and then they sent the filter screen or whatever to wrap over it. So it just goes over top, with spandex, and stretches like so, like that. And then of course your snap ring system in your air filter will hold it in place. Thanks for watching.